Hello, everyone. My timing's always off on that, just a little bit.
So weird. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to part 2 of the Smith Maneuver. Tonight's the accelerators. It's going to be pretty darn exciting, pretty darn cool stuff. So I know lots of you got your book over the last week. I got a message from someone was like, I was panicking about reading it, so I took off a whole day to just read it, and then I was done in half a day. It was great, and I got all the info I needed. So that's great. Yeah, really well written. Yeah, nice and easy to understand. And that's what I was saying actually to someone today, to an investor. I was saying when we first heard of, he asked, are you implementing the Smith Maneuver? I said, yeah, actually, we're in the middle of it right now. We're using Sean Impey to refinance and get things all set up properly. And I said, you know, when we heard about it 20 years ago, it was like this big thing that it was like overwhelming. It was super complicated in my mind. Certainly I've, advanced as an investor since then. But also, I think that the strategy was really just broken down into a nice, simple, simplistic way of dealing with it. And there's people now that help us do it, like Sean Impey. So,
well, the beauty of this too is as much as we want to implement this as investors, if you're not an investor yet, you're a homeowner, you have a mortgage, you're in Canada, this applies to you. This is something that you can put into practice. This is something that you can start arranging right now. So super, super important if you want your mortgage paid off sooner, if you want to save money, if you want to pay less taxes, this is what it's all about. So that's why there's so much excitement over this, and people are totally interested in it. And it's going to work really well. So we're going to get into the details today.
Did you do that to look?
I did.
He just smacked my hand away.
By the way,
he just smacked my hand away
motioning
from
under the table.
Mouse.
You guys can't see, but
I was trying to grab the mouse.
She's wanting this, and I'm not giving it up right now.
Because I want to say hi to all the people that are saying hi back.
Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone, by the way. We forgot to say that at the beginning. Hello, and from all across Canada. Nice to see you guys. Yeah,
and for those of you that don't know us, we're Corey and Tiffany Young. We are the co-founders of Investor Life, where we help people scale their portfolios. So raise joint venture money, find private lending, all that kind of stuff. But we talk all things investing like we're doing today, where we're talking about the Smith Maneuver, where you can pay off your bad debt mortgage and turn it into a tax-deductible expense to your business. So awesome stuff.
Yes. So before we bring Robinson on, just a couple of quick things. One is, if you are watching this from our Fearless Facebook group and you want more content, join us on our YouTube channel. Just search for Investor Life. Join us on YouTube. There's a lot of content that we don't put into Fearless that is there. So we wanted to introduce that to you guys tonight. And secondly, if you're watching this on YouTube, because right now we are broadcasting this to YouTube and to Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell. But also, if you want, join us in our Fearless Investors Facebook group. And that's where we can answer your questions live. Okay, so I just wanted to get that across.
And without further ado, since he hates that phrase, I'm going to say
not one of my favorite phrases.
Without further ado, we are going to bring on Robinson Smith and Sean Impey, and you guys all know them from last week. Welcome, Robinson. How's it going?
I'm 100%. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Very well, very well.
A lot of people excited for tonight. So I know you're going to bring it.
We are excited, super excited to, last night, a lot of people, I saw a lot of emojis, mind blown, like this is something that, why doesn't everybody know about this? That kind of a thing. And I think that, from my opinion anyways, tonight is only going to just like dramatically increase our mind being blown, because the stuff that we can put into practice makes such a huge difference.
For sure.
Yeah, I think your watchers are going to get significant benefit out of this. We went through the plain Jane Smith Maneuver, the first show, and there's a lot more to it. So I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So can you run through in really just your quick nutshell that I know that you have to do on a regular basis, what that plain Jane Smith Maneuver, just kind of that basic standard is, just for those that maybe didn't catch last time, so they can have a little bit of a foundation going into tonight?
Yeah, well, I worked into my deck, the synopsis of the plain Jane, so we can do that right at the beginning.
Perfect. Awesome. And are we bringing Sean on right now?
Why don't we introduce Sean? So we'll bring Sean in as well. So hello, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, guys.
Awesome. So Sean is a mortgage broker. Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit as well, Sean. But what I will say is Sean is a mortgage broker extraordinaire. He is definitely.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah,
say now
I just noticed here. What I'm going to do is just take that off so that people
There
can
we
see my
go.
face. Okay, so mortgage broker extraordinaire, and you work with a lot of creative strategies, a lot of creative stuff, and you are Smith Manoeuvre certified. I wanted to make that very clear to everybody. So a mortgage broker that understands this process is Smith Manoeuvre certified. And we have also endorsed you as well, Sean, that you are in also one of our Investor Life preferred mortgage brokers.
Yeah,
So,
and what that means is basically you know how to work with investors, because there's so many mortgage brokers out there that know how to, you know, do the normal stuff, but they don't know how to actually work with investors. So you've got all these different toolboxes. Hey, Sean?
I am an investor, so that gives me a big head start. So I've got a lot of single family properties, some condos, and I own part of the multifamily. So I've seen and made a lot of the mistakes myself, so I can help people get over those when they
yeah.
move on.
Okay, well, we're going to hit right into this. So, do you want to share your screen, Rob? Rob, is that what you wanted to do? You can get the presentation going? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
why don't we do that? If you want to share that,
okay.
then I can bring it up here on the screen for everyone to see.
Let's see. Okay. All right. I know what it is. You helped me through this. Wow. You.
So in the meantime, Sean, do you want to tell us what a certified Smith Manoeuvre certified professional is?
So Robinson set up a program here back in the summertime, I think it was. And what he's done is developed a course for anybody who wants to learn the ins and outs of the Smith Maneuver. So it's geared towards different trades, mortgage brokers, realtors, accountants. They all have a little bit different flavor. So signed up, managed to pass the exam.
That's good.
He sent me a certificate to put on the wall and something to tag on the bottom of my emails. So I understand how Smith Manoeuvre needs to be set up for people to take the most advantage of their both their home mortgage and I call it like Smith Manoeuvre Light. You can also do a similar type of mortgage on your rental properties.
Okay, awesome. So it's super important that the professionals that you guys are using as investors, the professionals you're using on your team, whether that's your realtor, your mortgage broker, whatever it is, they should understand the strategies you're trying to do. So, you know, if you're trying to buy an investment property, you have to work with a realtor that's an investor, a mortgage broker that's an investor. If you're trying to do the Smith Maneuver, you have to work with a mortgage broker that is Smith Manoeuvre certified. You know, it doesn't make any sense to use somebody that's not familiar with these strategies. You're just going to be beating your head against the wall.
And if you don't set it up properly, then it doesn't work. So that would really be upsetting to go through the whole process and then find out that that's the whole point of it is no longer going to work for you. So
yeah, and there's a lot of professionals who have, I guess, been implementing this for their clients for years, but not knowing they haven't been getting the full benefit out of it or doing it incorrectly. So it really is important to use someone who's gone through the program and learned the ins and outs of the strategy, like Sean. All right, I think I'm ready here, guys. You guys ready?
Yes, we are ready. I don't see it popping up for me to bring it up on the screen. Oh, there we go. I see it now. Okay, so I will add this to the stream, and we haven't done this with three. There we go. All three of us are still there. Okay, perfect. Let's go, Robinson.
Okay, let me just get to this, and we're looking good now.
looks great.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, so welcome everybody. What I just want to do is a quick recap. I know there were some people who weren't able to attend the first part. We're just going to go over the plain Jane Smith Maneuver really quickly. And basically the reason the Smith Maneuver exists is because we pay very high taxes. We've got very expensive mortgages, And because of these two factors, a lot of our money is going out the door to somebody else instead of towards our own investment programs. We're not able to save adequately for our retirement. So the Smith Maneuver is a strategy which converts the non-deductible mortgage interest on your principal residence to tax-deductible interest, 100% tax-deductible. And basically the way that works is if I've got a readvanceable mortgage, because I've talked to Sean and he put me into one, fantastic, thank you, Sean. Now I've got a $2,200 mortgage payment. Whenever some of that principal is reduced on that mortgage via the principal reduction component of the payment, the line of credit which is attached to the mortgage on this readvanceable will increase its limit. So if $940 of that $2,200 goes down against that principal, the line of credit limit increases dollar for dollar, and I can pull this $940 out to invest. And the use is critical. I need to borrow with the reasonable expectation of generating income. That way the borrowing can be taxed. The interest on the borrowing is tax deductible. So this occurs on a monthly basis. Whenever I make a mortgage payment, some of that reduces principal. I reborrow it to invest. So my debt is not decreasing. My debt is staying constant. But very importantly, the nature of that debt is changing from 100% non-deductible to 100% deductible. And this is the distinction between these two types of debt is what the wealthy understand very, very well. They know that they should avoid non-deductible debt and that they should acquire tax-deductible debt so that they can invest. So that's what happens with this strategy. When you complete the conversion process, you've got still $500,000 of mortgage debt, but it's fully tax deductible, which means you're getting tax refunds each and every year. And with the Plain Jane Smith Maneuver, first step is to take your mortgage payment, reborrow the principal reduction to invest. And because of these tax deductions you're generating, which increase on a monthly basis, so year after year, your tax deductions are increasing, you're getting these refunds. You take these tax refunds and you make a prepayment against your mortgage. And you can borrow that amount back as well. So we're reducing our tax bill. And because of this reduction, we're able to eliminate our mortgage much faster than otherwise. And this is money that is coming back to us from the government. It's not extra money coming out of our pocket. And if we can make any prepayments against that non-deductible mortgage debt, it's gone sooner. And sooner is better when we're talking about non-deductible debt. And we also pay much less in interest payments over the amortization, the reduced amortization.
So the beauty of this, just to recap, is that you're not only are you not putting any more money out of your pocket, but you're actually getting extra money that you didn't have before implementing this, that can accelerate the maneuver itself.
That's exactly right. And I think last time I was on, I talked about the fact that, every investment advisor or financial professional, they're going to tell you if you want to increase your net worth, then you got to come out of pocket with more money to either save more or reduce debt. But it's going to cost you more money out of pocket. Well, the Smith Maneuver is probably the first and only strategy which does not require any additional funds out of your pocket other than the mortgage payment you're already making. But in fact, it also increases your cash flow via these tax deductions. So because of the fact that you're investing on a monthly basis, plus the tax refunds that come at you, where after you prepay your mortgage and then reborrow that amount, you're taking advantage of compound growth now. Instead of waiting until your current mortgage is paid out completely, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, in order to then be able to contribute to an investment plan, because prior to that, all your money is going to expensive life and mortgage payments. If you're not able to invest now and you have to wait, then you're missing out on compound growth, and that gets terribly expensive. So that's the Plain Jane Smith Maneuver. Your regular mortgage payment you're making anyways, and the new tax refunds that you're going to start receiving. So that's what we talked about last week. And when I went through the Smith Man calculator, the Plain Jane scenario, we saw almost $68,000 of total tax refunds that came back to the homeowner. And instead of taking 25 years to pay out this non-deductible mortgage debt, it was gone in 22.75 years. We saw a projected net benefit of $617,000. That's simply the Plain Jane scenario, $617,000 advantage.
Wow. Crazy.
And I will say to all of our viewers, if you want an expanded view of this, so Robinson is just kind of going over a recap of last week, but if you want an expanded view, go back and listen to last week. As he goes through the calculator, you're going to see where all this money comes from, and the actual particulars of it. But that's a great recap. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, plain Jane Smith maneuver last week. But what else can we do? How can we improve our results? We can implement some of the accelerators if we have them available to us. And there's a number of them: the debt swap, the cash flow diversion, the drip accelerator, the prime the pump accelerator, and the cash flow dam accelerator. So we're going to look at each of these. And then once we're done, I'll go and add to the Smith Man calculator so that you guys can see what we've already gotten done with the plain Jane. We'll add these accelerators on top of the plain Jane. So we'll talk about the debt swap here. Here's my brand new readvanceable mortgage, courtesy of Sean Impey. And we'll see here that I've got $500,000 of non-deductible mortgage debt. There's my line of credit. Well, a lot of Canadian homeowners, it's not uncommon for them to have some investment portfolio that they've built up over the years. Or maybe they've got an emergency fund of cash. So in this case, we're talking about one or the other really here. But you can do both if you have the ability. But what I can do is I can take my cash or I can take my investments and prepay my mortgage. So with the cash, if this is my emergency fund, I'm going to want to go out and get a personal line of credit, and I'm going to only use it for emergencies. I'm going to swear up and down to my spouse, my God, and everybody around that I'm not going to touch that personal line of credit unless it is an emergency. Well, that frees up this cash to prepay my mortgage. This cash has been earning 0% or close to it as an emergency fund. So I can take the cash, I can make a prepayment against my mortgage. That non-deductible debt goes down by $10,000, and then right away that line of credit limit opens up by $10,000, and I can pull that $10,000 out to invest. So I've gotten $10,000 in unproductive cash, invested into a productive asset, but I've also immediately converted $10,000 of debt. Now with the investments, if I take my $10,000 of mutual funds, for example, I'm going to want to look at taxation, but I can redeem these mutual funds for cash. I take the cash, same thing. I make a prepayment against my mortgage, and I don't know, a couple days later, I can reborrow that $10,000 and buy the exact same investments I just sold if I wished. Now we want to be concerned with the superficial tax laws, whether we are able to buy the exact same investment or if we have to buy a slightly different investment. But we don't have to buy the same investment. We can just invest with the reasonable expectation of generating income. So within the course of 7 or 10 days, I've had $10,000 of investments, gotten cash, prepaid my mortgage, reborrowed, and bought the exact same investment back if I want. So all that does is I'm still invested for growth, but I've completed the conversion of $10,000 of non-deductible debt, bam, very quickly. And that's very, very valuable. So I've increased my tax deductions with that one move there.
Yeah.
So the cash flow diversion. Let's assume that I receive my income every 2 weeks, whatever it is, it goes into my personal checking account. And I decided a while back that I'm going to do something about my financial future. Not working for me. I gotta start saving. And I can afford to invest $400 a month. That's great. That's fantastic. And so my income comes into my bank account, but I instructed the investment company to come in on the same day every month and just take that $400, take $400 from that account and get it invested. And that's in the example previous. This is what's built up that $10,000 of mutual funds, for example. So money comes in and automatically gets reinvested. Well, I bet you can guess what we're going to do with it. When that money comes in, my income, instead of investing it right away, I'm going to instruct a prepayment against my mortgage of $400. And this is above and beyond the regular mortgage payment that I'm already making. So that non-deductible debt goes down by $400. The line of credit limit opens up by $400, and I pull that out and get it invested. So I'm still not coming out of pocket any additional money. I was already investing $400 a month, and I'm still investing $400 a month. But instead, I'm first prepaying my non-deductible debt and generating tax deductions.
So it's funny. This reminds, like, the whole kind of scenario reminds me of when we had credit card debt, years ago, and it was like, how do we pay down our credit card debt? Well, everything was, put our money first on our credit card, then use the credit card, then put our money on the credit card, then use the credit card, so that the interest didn't accumulate on it. And that was the whole thing, was it's the same money, you're just redirecting it so that it's working smarter for you. So it's the same money that you have, this $400 that's already sitting there. But now, instead of it just, going to 15 different places, you're taking all of these different places where you put money, putting them first on your mortgage, paying that down, creating some tax deductible debt, and continuing on with your life.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's super powerful.
Yeah, and the important thing is, as we've talked about, is when you do that reborrowing, that you invest it with the reasonable expectation of generating income. So money that you have invested already, you can redeem it for cash, prepay, reborrow, and buy the same investment or a different investment, buy the debt swap we talked about earlier. Or if you're investing on a monthly basis or on a regular basis, first prepay your mortgage and then get it invested. And we know that that 100% of this $400 goes to reduce principal, because the regular mortgage payment we're still making, that is what takes care of the interest for that month. So anything that we prepay, 100% of that $400 goes to principal. So it's very effective in reducing that amortization.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great. Great, but I'm just going to say, you investors, we're a group of investors, so these are great, these accelerate, but wait until you see the cash down. Like, that seriously made me sit there. I'm reading the book, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Are you kidding?
Wow. Wow. Like, I kept saying to myself, all by myself, and sitting in my car reading it, actually. And I'm like,
you weren't driving though, right?
No, I was not driving. I was just like, wow, like, all by myself. So guys, these are awesome. These accelerators are all awesome, but wait until you get to the cash down. Cash down?
Before we get there, and we will, Tiff, guarantee it, the DRIP accelerator. So DRIP stands for Dividend Reinvestment Plan, Dividend Reinvestment Program. And typically, if I've got investments, mutual funds, stocks, whatever it is, if these investments send out dividends, or maybe quarterly, maybe annually, they send out dividends, I can request that instead of sending them out to me in cash, I want you to automatically, company, buy me more units or shares of the investment that is sending out those dividends. So maybe they're 2%, 3%, 4% annual yield, whatever the case may be. And this is what most investors do. And they pat themselves on the back because, wow, I'm disciplined. I'm taking this $300, and instead of using this cash to pay for lifestyle and cars and all that stuff, I'm getting it reinvested for growth. That's where I'm going to see significant growth in my investment. Well, they're missing out on an opportunity here, because you can request that these dividends come out in cash, but you don't spend it on yourself. You be responsible and diligent and disciplined here. And instead, I know you guys knew it was going to happen. You take these dividends and you prepay your mortgage. Then that line of credit opens up, $300, dollar for dollar. You borrow that out, and then you buy more mutual fund shares or stock shares or whatever the case may be. Instead of them being reinvested automatically, take them in cash, make them work more than once. You're accelerating the reduction of your non-deductible debt. You're increasing the tax deductions that you're generating. So a lot of people may say, well, what about taxation? If I'm having them reinvested automatically each month versus taking them in cash, is there a difference in the way I get taxed here? And the answer is no. The CRA is going to tax you on these dividends, whether you take them in cash or whether they automatically reinvest to buy you more shares or units. So the taxation treatment is the same, but I'm greatly accelerating the elimination of my non-deductible debt. It's going to do very good things for me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So prime the pump. This is where you folks are. This might not be hugely new to you. A lot of you access the equity in your homes to invest in real estate to begin with, but it ties in nicely with what we're doing here with the Smith Maneuver. Now, let's say I'm in the wrong mortgage. It doesn't work for the Smith Maneuver because it's not a readvanceable mortgage. I call Sean. Sean says, okay, we're going to get your house appraised. We're going to go through the qualification process. and we're going to get you a readvanceable mortgage. So upon appraisal, the result comes back that the house is valued at $625,000. Well, readvanceable lenders will go up to a maximum of 80% loan to value, meaning the maximum loan that they're willing to extend to you on a $625,000 house is $500,000. Well, in this case, it just happens that that's the amount of mortgage debt that I have to pay out on the mortgage that doesn't work for the Smith Maneuver. So upon registration of this mortgage, I have my brand new readvanceable mortgage. This $500,000 of mortgage debt gets fully transferred over from the mortgage that doesn't work over to my new mortgage, and I've borrowed the maximum that I can from the lender for this mortgage. So there's no available credit on this line here. And so now I proceed to implement the plain Jane Smith maneuver with my regular mortgage payment. Maybe I implement the debt swap, the cash flow dam, or the drip accelerator, but there's no big chunk of cash that I can invest right away. Well, all you got to do is say, Sean, before the appraisal, I want you to come to my place and slap a coat of paint on it and do the gardening, right? And then you get a higher appraisal value. So let's say Sean does a good job and you've got $800,000 appraisal value. Well, 80% loan to value means that they're willing to lend you a total of $640,000. So when this mortgage gets registered, the payout of the existing mortgage is only $500,000. That's the existing debt of non-deductible variety that you had. It gets paid out. It's now on the readvanceable mortgage. But because they're willing to lend a total of $640,000, they give you an immediately available balance on this line of credit of $140,000. The difference, $500,000 plus $140,000. If you pulled all that out, you'd be maxed out at 80% loan to value. So the homeowner has a decision to make. Do they leave this as available equity, which they certainly can? They can leave it as available equity on an ongoing basis and simply implement the plain Jane Smith maneuver, maybe with one or two of the accelerators, or they can pull some or all of it out to invest. Now, when we pull out this $140,000, let's assume we're going to pull it all, we're going to invest it directly. Some people might say, well, okay, I'm going to pull out this $140,000 and I'm going to make a prepayment on my non-deductible mortgage debt of $500,000 and bring that way down to $360,000. You can't do that because then you are borrowing to consume, because the test is from the CRA, what did you do with the borrowed money? And if I borrow $140,000 from my line of credit and I use it to pay down non-deductible debt, then the borrowing itself is non-deductible.
Okay. Wow. That's huge. I didn't catch that before. And again, this is why we want to use these certified professionals, because it's these kinds of little things, as well as we have a lot of questions about people saying, how do we do this? It's if we pay down our mortgage, it's too much. We'll get prepayment penalties and stuff. If you're using the right products, guys, those things are not applicable. So that's why, again, it's so important to use these certified professionals, because they're going to make sure you're in the right product where you can pay it down and you're not paying down 140 of your equity straight up. You're actually doing it so CRA approves of you doing it. Huge.
Yeah. And, if you're talking to a mortgage broker who's not a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional mortgage broker, maybe they've heard of the Smith Manoeuvre. They haven't read the book, or they haven't done any research, but they know, maybe because you tell them, that you need a readvanceable mortgage. Well, if they don't know to ask you the questions that an SMCP mortgage broker will, they might get you a readvanceable mortgage, all right, but it might not be the best one for you, and it might end up being very expensive because they simply don't know how to position a particular client with a particular readvanceable mortgage. There's a number of them out there, but there's going to be one that is best for you, and that's what an SMCP broker knows how to investigate. So this $140,000, I can pull this out and invest it anywhere I want. I can invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds. I can start a new business, or I can invest in real estate. If I borrow this $140,000 out and use it as a down payment on an investment property, then now I've just increased my portfolio. Maybe it's my first rental property, maybe it's my second, whatever the case may be. But I am borrowing to invest with a reasonable expectation of generating income. And if it's investment real estate, that income is going to be rental receipts. So I can deduct the interest on this $140,000 that I create right away. And then I begin to execute and implement the Smith Manoeuvre.
So just so I'm clear on this, to use this strategy, then the whole, like, going back to the beginning of this strategy, we would essentially have to increase the appraised value. So that we have to do a few things. We have to make sure that we can get the highest appraised value possible so that we get the highest amount of potential mortgage available to pay off our original mortgage that we might currently have, and then have extra money left over to be able to invest.
Yeah, and it might not be a stretch that many of these people who are on this call tonight are going to have that equity. If they've owned their house for a good number of years and it's increased in value, meanwhile they've been paying off their mortgage conventionally like everybody else, the value of their house has gone up, the mortgage balance has gone down, and so maybe 7-8 years ago when you bought the house or refinanced at that time, you took the maximum in non-deductible debt and there was no ability to borrow from the house at the time. Well, maybe the value of the house has gone up, but certainly the balance of that mortgage has come down. So that will quite likely create this available equity.
Yeah.
Right?
And then in BC or Ontario is looking at this every single month and seeing that value go up and opportunity right there.
Yeah.
Let me jump in for 1 second here. So the key is when you get your mortgage, the existing balance is non-deductible. You want one product within your mortgage to pay that off, and you want to add other products like other mortgages or other HELOCs to make up the difference in the equity that you've got in your house when you refinance. The old school way is my house has gone up $100K. I go get a new mortgage, $100K more than what I owe, and now you got this cash left over, but you can't write it off.
I see.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, and again, this is what an SMCP broker will be able to help you execute.
Yeah. Sean, do you work in Saskatchewan?
I can work any province except Quebec, and Quebec I refer out to other professionals. Robinson has SMCPs in Quebec, I believe. So
yep.
If I can't do it, we'll just refer out. So
perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah. So with this $140,000, I pull this out. Let's say I invest in a rental property. Well, here you go, Tiffany.
This is my favorite too.
That's crazy.
Cash flow down. Now I have my rental property and I install renters, and they're good renters. I'm happy with them. They pay on time. They keep the yard clean. Each and every month, they send me $3,000 and it comes into my bank account. Each and every month, I turn right around and I make the mortgage payment on that rental property or other expenses to this business, my rental property. So money comes in, money goes out. Well, the Canadian homeowners and investment real estate investors are missing out on a very valuable opportunity here, because instead of the money coming in and coming out, we're doing what we think we should. Yes, we are. We're receiving money, and then we're paying money on balance that we owe. But before we do that, let's take that $3,000 in rental receipts and make a prepayment against our own mortgage, the house in which we live, of $3,000. And then, as we know, when that line of credit limit opens up by $3,000, we can reborrow that. So that goes back into our rental property account, and then we make the mortgage payment on our rental property and service the other expenses. So yes, money in, money out, but first it's getting run through my own mortgage. And Sean could tell you, if you're making a $3,000 mortgage prepayment each and every month, above and beyond the regular mortgage payment, above and beyond the $400 a month that you've always been contributing to your investments, above and beyond the dividends you're receiving on a quarterly or annual basis from your investments, that 25-year mortgage is gone in no time. That non-deductible debt is fully converted to tax-deductible debt, and you've generated all these tax deductions and the investment portfolio. So this is a hugely powerful accelerator of the Smith Manoeuvre.
Massive, right, Yenga? Yenga says pure awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
Angie. Okay, guys, we need some heck yes. We need some
Put
heck
it in
yes
the comments,
right now.
guys.
Oh my God, I love that.
This is mind-blowing. So one of the keys to this is that if you have a rental property, it would have to be in your personal name, correct?
Well, not ideally, but basically, yes.
Okay.
If I've got a rental property or two and they're proprietorships, so I own them in my own name, then the cash flow dam is pretty slick. It works pretty slick. The rental property is in my name. It's a proprietorship. Therefore, the CRA considers that to be me, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I own rental properties within a corporation, the CRA says, okay, you, Robinson Smith, you're earning your own investment income. You're earning your own employment income. You are your own legal person. And even though you own 100% of this corporation, which owns 1 or 2 or 3 rental properties, that corporation is its own legal entity as well. So now when we're talking about pulling money out, like the rental receipts, we're talking about taxation as regards pulling funds out of a corporation, right? Now when we reborrow to put the money back into the corporation to then subsequently service the rental expenses, we're dealing with a different situation. There's a transaction happening between 2 individuals, myself and my corporation. So it's not that it can't be done, but if you're talking to a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional accountant, they'll say, okay, this is what we have to do. This is what makes sense. This is what the CRA will accept. And you don't want to get too creative here, right? We're dealing with the CRA. You want to follow all the rules at all times. Yeah. There is a way to use a corporation which holds rental properties to your advantage. It's just not exactly the same as the cash flow dam. So this is designed for proprietorships. Perfect. And it also applies to, as I say, proprietorship. A proprietorship can be you're knitting and selling sweaters on the internet out of your garage, or you've got a hot dog stand, right? A home-based business. If it's a proprietorship, you can take your receipts, you can prepay your mortgage, reborrow, and then service the expenses of that proprietorship.
Love it.
It's
okay,
amazing.
So I have a question about the flow here. So, most people, they collect the rent. They collect their rent, so they collect their $3,000, and then, maybe that's on the 1st of the month. And then their mortgages come out of their bank account sometimes on the 1st of the month, or all their expenses come out on the 1st of the month. But what we're trying to do here with the cash flow dam is take that $3,000, put it onto our personal mortgage, but then there's going to be a delay until our line of credit gets topped up with that money so that we can then pay our expenses. So how long does it normally take with these readvanceable mortgages? And I'm not sure if this is a question for Sean or not, but how long does it take for, once we make that prepayment, for then that line of credit to be increased so that then we can pay those expenses?
It happens almost instantaneously, because when you pay down, the banks see that you've made a payment on, your total limit is 500,000 or 400,000. So it just goes from one blue box to the other.
Okay, perfect. So my estimation was there might be a day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day delay in there, but if it's immediate, then that's perfect.
Well, we have to remember though that sometimes it takes a day for
transactions.
Yeah, that's right. For the money to go from the line of credit actually to show in your bank account.
Yeah.
Because the institutions, there's more than one involved here, and so they take time in order to send and receive, maybe a day or two. Plus over the weekend, right? They probably won't be implementing this, registering it. But what we would do in this case is we would start with $3,000 in that rental property account, so that on the 1st, when I get my $3,000 and I make a prepayment against my mortgage, the mortgage for my rental property is also coming out on that day. Well, there's already $3,000 in there, so that goes out, and then a couple of days later I restock it.
Yeah.
So we can,
and I will just add to that too, that one of the strategies that we've been teaching for quite some time now, and I know we have a video on YouTube, I can't remember the name of it, but it's we will put it in the description here if you're watching this on YouTube though, is we always suggest we collect all of our rents on the 25th of the month. So all of our tenants pay us on the 25th of the month.
Not on the 1st.
Not on the 1st. And then all of our expenses come out starting on the 1st, our condo fees and our mortgage and all of that kind of stuff. So if you do have a few days in there in between, then then that works extremely well as well. The flow just flows along even that much easier.
Yeah.
I set all my mortgages up to come out somewhere between the 5th and the 10th of the month, so I got 3 or 4 days to collect the rent. And that's when you're setting up your mortgage, always always make sure you're not paying it on the first. That's just creates too many headaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. We have so many questions. I'm like, I'm not sure when to get the questions in and when not to, but should we just let you keep going?
Yeah, I think I am just going to wrap up here, and then we'll just go to the Smith Manoeuvre calculator.
Yes.
But just to sum up here, the Smith Manoeuvre, each and every month you're able to invest money you wouldn't otherwise have available. And each and every month you're generating valuable and increasing tax deductions. You're able to eliminate your expensive mortgage in record time. These benefits start now, they occur simultaneously, and no new cash from you is required. So really quickly on readvanceable mortgages, I can go to my bank that I've been with for 15 years and go see the mortgage specialist, whether it's TD, RBC, BMO. And I'm going to say, hey, I want to do the Smith Maneuver. Oh, I think you need a readvanceable for that, right? Yes, I do. Okay, we got one. We've got one. And it's theirs. They only have one product. And it's 99 times out of 100, maybe that's exaggerating, but it's not going to be the best for you. You need to have someone look at it. If you've got a mortgage broker, they can look at a whole bunch of different readvanceable mortgages and find the best one for you. But you got to use a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional mortgage broker, because a non-SMCP mortgage broker is not going to know the ins and outs when it comes to what is the best mortgage for you, how to properly register it. What happens if something happens in your personal financial situation a year and a half down the road? How do we deal with that? So, and also the prepayment allowance. So there's a lot of different things which benefit you, the homeowner, by using an SMCP. Now, refinancing now, the penalty may be high. We're seeing high penalties, IRDs, if we're getting out of a mortgage and into a readvanceable, but it might still be worth it. Firstly, the mortgage broker can do a calculation for the remaining term of your mortgage. If we break the one that doesn't work, how much do we pay? But yet, how much are we going to save on the remaining term? And you can compare those numbers to see if it's still worth it. Now, that simple comparison may suggest it's worth it. Maybe it doesn't suggest it's worth it. But if we add on the benefits of generating tax deductions now, investing now, and reducing the amount, speeding up the acceleration of that debt repayment, of all these benefits of the Smith Maneuver, maybe you are over the hump and it is worth it now. So simply looking at how much your penalty is not enough of analysis. Sean can do one for you. And housing prices, we don't know what's going to happen with housing prices. But if you refinance into the appropriate mortgage now, you have the ability to access the equity, whether you use it or not, whether you use it for the Smith Maneuver or not. You get the ability to access equity when you want it. If you wait and go for a refinance in a year or a year and a half, because that's when your term ends, who knows what the value of the house is? Who knows what your employment position is? Are you temporarily laid off? Right? What's your income at? So if you have the ability to refinance now, it's worth looking into. Low rates are still available. Readvanceables are getting better than ever before. And I know Sean talks about this quite a bit. Maybe he'll have an opportunity just after the Smith Manoeuvre calculator here, but refinancing your existing rental property into a readvanceable, there's significant benefits there.
Yeah, this is insane.
Yeah. So the Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional Accreditation Program, look, if you go to, we already know, Sean Impey, where to find a mortgage broker, but if you're looking for other types of SMCPs, realtors, investment advisors, accountants, insurance, etc., you can go to smithman.net. And on the top, there's a link. It says find or become a Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional. You'd click that link and you could inquire as to an SMCP. We can hook you up.
So everyone that's been asking about Quebec, BC, Ontario, the SMCP lawyer, SMCP CPA, all of those questions can be answered by going to that Smithman.net and just hit that, what he just said. So that's perfect. And this calculator. So also, I just want to address something really quick. We've had a few questions that have come in that have kind of said, I don't understand that though. So if I sell my investments and then I, buy back in, what if they're more expensive? Or, what if my HELOC is more expensive than my mortgage is, and all of those kinds of things. So this is where this may work for you and it may not, but you don't go into it without knowing 100% for sure ahead of time whether or not that is. And that's by using a calculator, having Sean use the calculator, and ahead of time whether or not it's going to be worth it for you. It's not like it's a guess. Am I correct?
Well, I mean, if we're looking at, I got an index fund or mutual funds. If I sell today with the goal and projection of buying in another 7 to 10 days, how much am I going to lose? I mean, do mutual funds take off and do 25% over the course of a week, up or down? No. I mean, they're nice and stable and blue chip stuff, and same with index funds. And so there is that risk that this week or 10 days that you're uninvested, the market goes against you. But that's what you talk to the advisor about. Say, what is the risk that firstly, how much taxation do I have to pay? A whole bunch of tax? Ooh, yeah, you've done really well. You're going to have to pay a whole bunch of tax. And this is a very volatile stock, so we don't know what's going to happen within that week. But then maybe you don't do it.
Yeah, right.
That's an analysis.
One of the accelerators too. It's just one of the options, and there's a million of them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One of the things I wanted to mention, it was a question that was a little bit back here, but it was in regards to now I'm going to have an interest payment on my line of credit. And how do I cover that? And I just wanted to address that by saying that was answered very, very clearly in last week's presentation. So if you can watch last week's presentation, Robinson went into exactly where the money comes from to pay for that extra amount of interest. When you pull that money out to use it to invest, you pull it out of that line of credit, and where does that interest payment come from? Well, that question was answered last week. So go and check out that video.
Awesome. And this calculator that Rob's going to show us, this calculator is insane, and it's crazy how it shows us. It's only $70, you guys, to have it yourself, so you can run your own numbers yourself. There is a 15% off coupon. I don't know what that comes to, but it's whatever. It's $60 then, something like that. But yeah, have this calculator he's going to show you. You can have access to this calculator. So
last week we got to the point where we're at now. So we've saved, just doing the plain Jane Smith maneuver, we've saved 2.25 years on our amortization. We've improved our net worth by over $600,000. We've got a taxation improvement I see there. So that's just doing the plain Jane. So we're going to be adding to that this week with the accelerators.
Yeah. So deduction, you can see the calculator right now?
Yep.
Okay, so deductions of $155 over the original amortization of the mortgage, which leads to tax refunds of $68,000, which otherwise I wouldn't have seen. Instead of 25 years, that non-deductible debt's gone to 22.75, and my investment portfolio is worth $1.06 million. But if I were to pay out that fully deductible investment loan that generated that $1.06 million, I would still have $617. So that's my net worth improvement. So now this is pre-filled. So last week I inputted, I got $150,000 of employment income, but I'm going to add here that I've got a rental property that brings in $36,000 a year in rental receipts. Now, how much we're starting to see results over here already. How much of this rental income is required for living expenses? I just want to go and make sure. Okay, good. So the reason things change is because my income just changed. So this $36,000, I don't need any for rental income. I got a job. I'm making $150,000. So I'm not skimming off that. My rental property cost me $34,000 a year, so slightly cash flow positive. So there's my gross annual income. On the investment side, I got good old boring mutual funds. It could be stocks, bonds, whatever it is. The value is $30,000. That's what I have invested already. I don't need to fill out investment property assets. I'm going to say I got $10,000 in emergency funds. That's just sitting in cash. It has been for a long, long time. Now, I can add in if I've got credit card debt. Personal line of credit debt, because that will give me an opportunity to consolidate. If I have room on the new mortgage, I can consolidate that debt to a lower rate. And I can also do that with my deductible investment loans if I have any. So I got a personal line of credit. Maybe I've got deductible debt of $10,000. I would preserve that out of the line of credit of my new mortgage, not on the amortizing side, because it's already deductible. That's where I want it to end up, is on that line of credit. So I would pay out my non-deductible debt on top of my mortgage, and I would pay out the deductible debt with the line of credit, so that all the tracing is very, very clear.
Yeah. And if anyone is finding this hard to follow, I just want to remind you, we read the book over the last couple of weeks. We got the book and read it. We also were here for last week's training. Believe me, it's not nearly as complicated when you understand it. I thought it was going to be complicated, and I totally get this. And y'all know I'm not good with numbers. So if I can get it, you guys definitely can get it.
Yeah. And also there's, you do the rollovers here, and it gives an explanation, what it's looking for, all that stuff. So on the marginal tax rate side, the calculator automatically assumes you're in BC. So that's for BC. If you're not in BC, but you know your actual marginal tax rate, you can type it in here, or it's not going to be hugely different if you don't know it. But that's what it comes out for as my marginal tax rate based on my income. Now I get to the second sheet here. Can you see my cursor moving around?
Yep.
Okay, good. So I've already filled this in last week. I got a $750,000 home. I've got a $500,000 mortgage on it at 2.9%. And it's amortized over 25 years. That's the default. If your current amortization is 17, you can plug that in, right? So I can select what sort of payment frequency I want. It's not going to really affect anything here. But on the readvanceable mortgage, on the borrowing side, on that line of credit, I type in prime, 2.45, and then my new readvanceable mortgage, maybe it's prime plus a half, maybe it's prime plus one, maybe it's prime flat, whatever it is. If I know it, I can plug it in there. But prime and a half is pretty common, I think. Sean will know better than I. And so that sheet's done. So now I go to this sheet here, the accelerators. This was already filled in. I'm assuming an 8% growth rate for my investment portfolio. And based on my mortgage balance and the rate and all that and the amortization, the amount of that mortgage payment that is going to go to principal is $997. So let's call it $1,000. Out of that $2,200 mortgage payment or whatever it is, the rest of it is going to go to interest, non-deductible interest. It's gone. Goodbye. I never see it again. But this $997 is what's going to reduce the amount I owe on that mortgage. And I want to invest all of it. I don't have to, but I can, and I want to. Now, this gets a bit more complicated. Essentially, the nut of this is the less I accept from the lender in certain circumstances, the better I can improve my results, because it will improve the amount of mortgage that I can readvance versus not readvance. There's this thing called the 65% HELOC rule that Sean will have much more information on. But basically, what this is going to do, I can manipulate this to get worse results or better results. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep it at $550,000. But basically, the lender says, based on your house value, your income, your credit, all that stuff, we're willing to give you $600,000. And I'm saying, that would be nice, thank you very much, but I only want $550,000. And if you play around with the calculator and you move these back and forth, and you sort of have a read of what's going on down here, you'll get an idea of why that is the case. Now, to finish off the plain Jane Smith maneuver, I ticked this box, which means I'm going to take my tax refunds, prepay my mortgage, and then reborrow to invest. And that's where we stopped. Okay, 155, 2.33. So these have changed a little bit because I added rental income, which changed my marginal tax rate. But in any event, let's start looking at the accelerators here. I indicated on the first page, as you guys just saw, that I got $30,000 in mutual funds. So I talked to my SMCP investment advisor. Hey, what happens if I redeem this $30,000 in mutual funds? Well, you can expect to pay $600 in tax. Well, what happens in 7 days? Where's the price? We don't know where the price is going to be, but it hasn't really moved much. It's just kind of slow and steady up. So I don't think there's a huge risk you're going to miss out on 7 to 10 days of not being invested. Great. Let's sell the whole $30,000. I'm taking that cash. I'm prepaying my mortgage, and I'm reborrowing it to invest. And me sliding it here is showing the effect of only debt swapping a portion. Maybe you got $30,000, but 10 of it is in stock and 20 is in mutual funds. You don't want to sell the stock. It's very volatile. You don't know if you miss out. So you sell 20 grand of the mutual fund and do the debt swap with that. So this is all mutual fund. Boom. Originally, I had $67,000 in tax refunds. Originally, it was 2.25 years taken off the mortgage. Now it's 4.5. And now from 617, I'm up to $863,000. And remember, the only change I've done here is this debt swap. Sold assets I already owned, ran the cash through the mortgage, and bought the exact same asset. And that's a significant increase from 600 and change to 863,000 net worth improvement. Now, I can also say, you know what? I know that I'm getting an inheritance of $10,000 in 2023 in May. And it'll calculate your improvement there, but it applies it in the future. If it applied it now, you'd get inflated results. So we have to apply it when you're actually receiving it. Emergency cash. Emergency cash. This $10,000 I have, I'm going to take it out of my bank account that's been doing nothing for me for years and years, and I get a personal line of credit for my emergency fund. But I'm going to take this cash, prepay my mortgage, and then get it invested.
So what this calculator is doing,
That's unreal.
it's insane. That's insane. So what it's doing really is it asks you all your questions. What liabilities do you have? What assets do you have? And then it says, all right, now play with these numbers and see what you want to do better with what you already have, debt, assets, and just play with it. So it makes it really easy for you to adjust and say, I have all this stuff, but I don't know what to do with it. Well, here's what you can do with it, and here's how it works out if you do this or that.
Yeah, you can use this, see what the scenario says with this accelerator, but without that one. We'll add them both now. Now do the other way around. I don't think 8% is realistic. I want to put 7 in. Okay, put 7 in. I don't think rates are going to stay this low. I want to see what would happen if my mortgage rate wasn't 2.9, but what if it was 3.4? And what if the prime rate wasn't 2.45? What if it was 3.22 or 2.5 or whatever it is? So you can play around and see what happens with the scenarios.
Love it. And so we can do our super conservative version and something that's a little more aggressive.
And some people might have 25,000 in emergency cash, and some might have 0. And same with the mutual fund. Some might have 100,000 and some might have 0. So everybody's situation is different. And that's why plugging it into this, you're going to get a personalized estimate. Yeah.
So that was the debt swap. So a number of different debt swaps. One, right away from existing investments, lump sums of cash in the future, or existing cash. So the cash flow diversion. So this asks me here, how much am I investing each month into my current savings and investment program? Remember on the PowerPoint earlier, I said it was $400 a month. I'm investing $400 directly from my bank account. Well, first, let's use that. So again, it's not additional money coming out of my pocket. I was already investing it. Now I'm just going to first prepay my mortgage and then invest it. So as soon as I hit tab here, 201, 567, 101, 231, 908, 1403. So that mortgage instead of 25 is gone in 16 years. And my portfolio is 1.8 million. I've got a 1.4 million net worth benefit after I calculate in the deductible debt that I have. And this here, typically people are going to say, oh, you know what? I'm liking this. I can come up with an extra $100 from my pockets. And again, we're going to see improvements here. But this is additional cash coming out of your pocket. It's voluntary. You don't have to do it. So I'm going to take it out. The cash flow dam.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, this is craziness right here.
Okay, so in the household income section, I indicated 36 grand a year in revenues. That works out to $3,000 a month, if my math is correct. And I also indicated that this cost me $28.33 per month. So when I click this button here, the calculator is going to take that $3,000 a month and make a prepayment against my mortgage, and then it's going to reborrow that full $3,000. That full $3,000 will get reborrowed. But once it gets reborrowed, only $28.33 needs to go to service the expenses of that rental property or my other proprietorship, whatever it is, which leaves $167 that goes get invested in securities, which will show a decent increase here. So I have positive cash flow. That means I have cash at the end of this monthly process to invest in securities because it doesn't need to go towards my rental property. Now, if I want to put the full $3,000 in my rental property account, I can build up a little money so that, if any unexpected expenses come along. But the calculator says that difference is going to get invested in securities. So 9.08 years saved, net worth improvement of 1,403. 18 years saved, net worth of 1.6 million. So a 25-year mortgage is gone in 7.
So a 25-year mortgage is gone in 7 years by applying the rents that we're already bringing in, even though we're cash flow. I call that a break-even property. If you're only making a little bit of money like that, that's pretty much break-even. So we've got a break-even property. We're applying our rents first to our mortgage and then paying our, condo fees, taxes, insurance, all that stuff. And we can take our mortgages from being 25-year AMs down to 7-year AMs.
Now, Sean might be shaking his head saying, holy cow, that's a lot of prepayment allowance required from the mortgage lender. But, we had, when I was an advisor, we had clients that were doing the cash flow down, and within 4 or 5 months, they'd hit their prepayment allowance. And for the rest of the year, or 6 or 7 months, or whatever it was, they had to make a penalty each month because they were over their limit. Well, it was well worth to pay the extra $103 for the penalty each month in order to continue the process.
Yeah. And I just want to address something else too, that's something that we've seen come up is people saying, isn't this going to affect our ability to qualify? And Sean, I'd love your opinion on it, but let me just say, you guys, to qualify on additional rental properties, absolutely. But let me ask you, why are you investing in rental properties? Why are you doing this? We deal with thousands of investors every single year. We know why you're doing this. You're doing this for freedom of choice. You're doing this for, helping your kids, your parents, having a pension and a good retirement. That's why you're doing this. That's why you're investing in properties. What if you no longer have to invest in 14 properties to do that? What if by doing this maneuver with one property, you can now add $1.5 million in net worth to your net worth? Do you need to
or save 18 years on your mortgage? Do
you need to worry as much about buying? Now, does it affect our qualification? I would say most probably. Sean, does it affect us?
Well, the important thing is to pick a lender that's got really good rental offsets, so that if you buy the right property based on your stress test mortgage payment, you have to service as a liability versus what your rents are. It may be a wash. If you had a $1,500 stress test payment on a property, that's about a $300,000 mortgage, and you had $3,000 in rent, then half that rent covers your mortgage payment, so it doesn't cost you anything. So when I put the post on there the other day, people who ask me how much can I qualify for a rental, well, how much is your rent? It's a big impact.
Yeah.
Okay. Huge. And one thing I'm going to say to everybody is this is called the Smith Maneuver, which means really what we're doing here is just maneuvering the flow of our money. We're putting it onto the mortgage first. We're getting that back, and then we're investing it. It helps us tax-wise. It helps us pay off our mortgage quicker. It helps our net worth increase. But is there work involved in doing it? Do we have to maneuver things? Yes, we do. But is it worth it when we can, instead of taking 25 years to pay off our mortgage and it's done in 7? Yes, it's absolutely worth it.
Well, for us, it would be, not for everyone maybe, but in our opinion,
well, for everyone, it should be.
Okay, just to wrap up here, time-wise, dividend reinvestment plan accelerator. This is not going to really hugely affect your net worth improvement because these dividends were going to be invested anyways if they were automatically reinvested. Where it helps a little bit is in the amortization improvement. So it takes another half year off if you take your dividends and prepay your mortgage. And I can adjust the yield I'm expecting from my investments. Prime the pump accelerator. This is the last one here. So based on what I've got inputted here, and when I was manipulating how much I accept from the lender, this is where that shows up. I have $50,000 of immediately available funds that I can prime the pump. I can pull that out and invest it immediately. Now, one of these days I will do the math so that I can select, I want to pull that $50,000 to invest in securities, or I want to pull that $50,000 out to invest in a rental property. But the calculator at this point assumes that you are investing in securities. So $50,000, starts at 1.6 net worth improvement. If I invest that 50 grand, immediately I get up to just under 2 million. So that means a $2.5 million portfolio offset by the deductible investment loan of $536, $1.9 million net worth improvement. Now, this does require additional cash flow from the homeowner, in the sense that the calculator will assume that the interest on the $50,000 that you're pulling day one to invest is $123 based on the rate that you inputted for your HELOC on the readvanceable. It says, okay, each month the interest on that 50 grand is going to be 123. Well, homeowner, I'm the Smith Man calculator, and I'm here to tell you that if you cannot afford to come out of pocket by $123 a month in order to service the optional incremental borrowing of $50,000, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you shouldn't be pulling that to invest if you can't afford to out of pocket. So there's the test. What the calculator does automatically is says, I am going to ask you to come out of pocket $123 to prepay your mortgage each month. And when that line of credit limit opens up for that relative 123, it's already sitting there to service that the interest on that 50K. Plus, it's going to speed up the conversion of your mortgage because you're prepaying by an extra 123. Now, when you actually go to do the math and what are my monthly transactions, some people might say, you know what, I'm not going to come. Boo to you, calculator. I'm not going to come up with that 123 out of pocket. I'm already investing several thousands of dollars a month. I'm willing to invest $123 less in order to cover that $50,000. But the calculator assumes that you are covering it from out of pocket.
Gotcha. And that's just with the prime the pump accelerator.
Correct. Because that prime the pump, that is new borrowing. That is borrowing that didn't exist before you got that readvanceable, before you refied. Right.
Yeah.
So this is the graph here. The yellow line is a part in the little box here, which shows up, but this horizontal yellow line is showing the total debt. You'll see it's more or less constant. It's not constant. It actually reduces a little bit because of the 65% HELOC rule, but it's more or less constant. Now, this green line, which is going down over here, that's the original amortization if I didn't do the Smith Manoeuvre. This blue line is the resulting amortization because I'm doing the Smith Manoeuvre in the accelerators. This purple line is the monthly reborrowing, and that tops out here, right, for my total debt. So these, the purple and the blue are mirror image there. And of course, this red line is showing us what our investment portfolio is doing.
Unreal.
It's amazing. And so just to clarify for everybody, you know, at the beginning of doing the Smith Maneuver, you had to go out and get that readvanceable mortgage and you had debt of $500 and some thousand. At the end of this, you still have that debt of $535, but it's offset by the $2.5 million that you now have in your investment portfolio, which means that you have a net worth improvement of almost $2 million here. So it's you know, it's just another way of looking at this and maneuvering your money so that you can improve your net worth, have your original mortgage paid down, which is not tax deductible, and have tax deductible debt. So it's a phenomenal strategy, and we really appreciate you walking us through it. And I urge everybody watching this, if you don't have it yet, get the calculator, put your own numbers in there, start figuring this out stuff for yourself. I mean, even if you save 2 years off your mortgage, is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it. So
okay. And I just want to address one more big question that we've had over the last couple of weeks, so that we've seen again and again and again. And I want to address it by saying, so guys, a lot of people say, well, where am I going to get 8% on my money? Where's some ideas for that? So anyone that's ignited, can you guys throw in the chat, just say, I'm ignited, right here, do that. And guys, everyone that does that, those are the people, they are offering you 8% and more any and every day of the week. So if you're looking for a place to put your money and you want to put it in at 8%, there are more than enough options. So, you know, a lot of people have said to me, oh, well, where are you going to get 8%? Where are you not going to get 8%? You're going to get 8% all over the place. So is that a safe assumption? I believe so. However, do you want to make it down to 3%? Are you still going to be winning?
There's all our igniteds.
There they are, guys. These are the people that know how to invest your money. If you want 8%, you want it secured or unsecured, you want a P-note, you want whatever you want. These are the guys that know how to invest your money and can make you that 8%. So can it be done? Absolutely. Reach out to them, talk to them, and they'll help you through that part.
Well, I hope you're not pointing to me for investment advice. So
Yeah. Just to finish off here, you can print the report here, and it shows what you've inputted. It shows the results that we're seeing on the right, and also it describes your monthly processes based on the numbers you've inputted. So that is that.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
That's what that is. That's amazing. So we're going a little bit over time here, and we appreciate you sticking with us, Robinson, and Sean being here as well to answer some of the questions. Any last closing words that you have to everybody watching? We've had nearly 200 people this whole time live with us watching
And
this.
I have an idea. idea. And
Sorry, am I still sharing my screen?
No.
Okay, I can't. I've lost everybody. But
no,
okay.
No, you're there. You're there.
okay. Yeah, we
Can
see
you hear us?
I can see you and hear you. Yes, I just can't get back. Can't figure out where. Oh, I know what to do.
Oh, there we go. So, a couple of things. Hey, I think that a lot of people really need to get into the book. So, guys, if you need the book, you can go to at the bottom of the ticker. There's 15% off that book. The coupon is in that link. So, and then you need to kind of start reading. You need to watch last week's. You need to rewatch this week's, perhaps. But once you read the book, it really does clarify. So my thought is I think we need a little bit of time, because what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people that are asking questions that have already been covered, or that are really simply covered. However, there are some more in-depth questions that we should probably hit for everyone, but asking everyone's individual simple questions maybe isn't the best use of our time. So my thought is why don't in a month's time we plan to revisit this again, and bring you guys back on, if you're both agreeable to that, and we can we will pre-choose some of those kind of more in-depth questions that aren't otherwise easily answered in the book or last week's training. I don't know if that works for you guys, but that will give everyone an opportunity to kind of soak this in a little bit, and then we can really implement it.
So,
and I sorry, Sean, I'll just real quick here. I just want to say the Smith Maneuver does not dictate what you need to invest in, what you should invest in. I like going slow and steady here. This is long term. This is for building up a portfolio for retirement for my family. But you can invest in anything you want, as long as your SMCP accountant says, yeah, that'll qualify for deductions. Go with what you're comfortable with. Go with what you understand.
Yeah.
I was going to echo the same thing. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not an accountant, so don't rely on me and go to CRA jail or something like that. So everybody's situation is different. So there's no cookie cutter answer. The Smith Maneuver is, my definition is, you're refinancing your house every month. So you're always getting your money back. It's great for rental properties if you've got that sustaining fund that you put in cash in your bank account. Well, if you've got the Smith Maneuver, it's going to build up that money in your rental property account, so you don't have to hold the cash. You have that emergency fund for the furnace or the hot water tank, whatever goes. It doesn't have to come out of your pocket. So that's one advantage of Smith Maneuver. So
yeah, I love it. And
okay, so I'm sorry, Tiffany. There's this one question: how do I find an SMCP or whatever the case may be? You already know where to find Sean Impey here. He's SMCP mortgage broker. We got Keith Udy. I saw his name here. He's in Calgary. But go to smithman.net if you're out of Alberta, or you want to use someone local. There's no better than the two guys we got on here. I'll tell you that much. They're great. But smithman.net. Find or become a Smith Maneuver certified professional. If you're looking for an SMCP investment advisor, accountant, whatever the case may be, just go through that process.
Awesome. And I was actually going to also kind of just quickly ask you to tell me. So you've got the course for your professionals that are going to be helping other people. They obviously get really in depth, but you also have a homeowners course. Can you give us just a quick rundown on what is in the homeowners course, and would that be valuable for us to be? I mean, I think we already bought it, but if not, I'm definitely buying it. But tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Sure. There's 7 modules. They're each about an hour long. They go generally follow the book in sequence. But this 153 pages, there's too much to go through in the book. So I built this course out. It's my face going through the material, PowerPoint with some slides and stuff. The production quality, look, if you're looking for a Hollywood movie, this isn't it. I had to do it myself during COVID lockdown and all that stuff. But the important thing is the information, and the information is there. There's also an hour-long demonstration of the Smith Manoeuvre calculator, so I go much more in depth. And then a bonus section, just general things to understand about money and personal finance. So that, again, through Corey and Tiffany's link there.
Awesome.
Oh,
Okay.
we have 15% off of that too?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Well, again, we want to thank you for coming on, Robinson. We want to thank you, Sean, for coming on as well. We appreciate it. And everybody, I hope, I know there was a ton of excitement in the chat here. People were saying, heck yeah, this is amazing, all that kind of stuff. There's a ton of that. We appreciate you guys coming on and explaining it. And again, like you said, everybody needs to put their own situation into it. So now that's what everybody leaves today
and the
doing,
tools,
putting their own situation.
The tools are there
in.
to do that, which is nice. It's not just information and then, all right, see ya. It's information. Here's a calculator. Now figure it out. And then here's how you implement. Like, yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
So thanks again. And we will be now moving over to our Ignited session. So,
so both of you will be coming in to talk directly with Ignited. So don't go too far. Do they have the info?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So jump on in with us over in Ignited, and we'll see you guys there. And the rest of you guys, we will see you next week. We are doing a Calgary market update. So what the heck's going on? Is it really a good place to be? Is it not a good place to be? Why do we want to be there? All that kind of stuff. So that's next week, Calgary market updates.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Cheers.